While in Arizona shooting content for On Location, I decided to visit the PIMA Air Space Museum located in Tucson. As one of the largest non-government funded aviation and space museums in the world, this place is bound to have some cool stuff. Come along with me to check it out. We're at the PIMA Air Space Museum with the director.
Hi, my name is Scott Marchand. I'm the Executive Director of the PIMA Air Space Museum, and thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Dogmatics.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. What are we standing in front of right now?
We are standing in front of 1950s era U.S. Navy search and rescue helicopter called a HUP-3 Retriever. So the PIMA Air Space Museum opened for business in May of 1976, just in advance of the bicentennial celebrations that were all over the country in 1976, obviously.
I remember 76.
Yep. So we got our genesis 15 to 20 years prior to that. We're really the offshoot of the famous boneyard across the street, 309th A Mark.
I've been there.
As aircraft were being scrapped and retired out, the personnel over there were keeping one or two of unique things, and they were parking them along one of the roads on the base there. They had an inspector general come through and say, "Okay, gents, you've had your fun, time to get rid of these things and carry on with your assigned duties." Unfortunately, at the time, the people there recognized that they'd already done something pretty unique and rare. Air museums are a relatively recent common creation, like certainly since mid-1970s and onwards has been a big proliferating era for air museums. But before that time, there weren't that many. Our collecting philosophy is basically if it flies, it fits. You know, we're an air and space technology and history museum, so, you know, outside of some specialist museums, we probably have the largest collection of helicopters anywhere in the world, one of the largest airliner collections, one of the largest NASA aircraft collections. Whatever you're into, we've got some of it. You know, we're really thrilled to have people from all over the world come. You know, we're open every day of the year except Thanksgiving and Christmas. We have a tram tour that we run around the grounds that people can take a narrated tour on, but we're more than happy to have our four-legged friends. You know, the banner says dog friendly, but we've had people in with their pot-bellied pigs, we've had some goats, and miniature horses have come through. So, but most of the time, these guys, I have to say, have never given me trouble anywhere near the guest staff. Everybody can find something they're going to take away from here that they're going to relate to. We're a people-friendly place and a pet-friendly place, and we're a memory-friendly place.
Well, we saw some pretty neat planes on the way in.
Yeah.
I think Dogmatics are going to walk around and check
Have a look.
out.
All right, we'll go sniff some tires and have a good time. Thanks for coming.
So behind me, we have a B-29 Super Fortress. Planes like this were used to end World War II in a very dramatic way. And this plane specifically, after the Japanese had surrendered, was there on VJ Day, and it's marked on the side where America did a show of force with a flyover. And it took some shrapnel in some of its journeys. It was one of the first pressurized planes, and one of the crew members used his glove to plug the hole from the shrapnel because it was a pressurized cabin. And this museum has so much stuff, they even have the glove. So these things were just flying gunships. This is a gun right here, a belly gun, belly turret, spins around, the gun rotates down. Yeah, it wasn't really meant for passengers.
Nope.
It had a different job. Yeah. It was a different time, a time we don't want again. Here's a P-51 Mustang. This one's the Bad Angel, it has a big story behind it. It's pretty fun, you might want to Google it. This plane is a Havoc. They just restored it. It's been sitting in a swamp for 40 years. This plane was huge in World War II in the Philippines. And then the Grasshopper helicopter up there. Tiger Cat. Looks pretty fast. That looks neat. It's amazing the diversity they have here. And in some of the planes, they have the plane that made the story. It's not just a plane, but it's the plane that was there that made it happen. And sometimes they've done some creative liberties to recreate the plane, but they tell you it's great. This is a Sturmovik, a very rare plane now, but back in World War II, Russia built about 36,000 of these. This one crash landed as it was chasing Germans out of the Stalingrad battle. So they just restored this one. It'd been underwater for about 40 years. They've done an amazing job, and I recognize it because I had this model kit as a kid. It's called a Tank Buster. It used to have some huge guns on the side, and they'd shoot tanks. Right behind me here is the SR-71 Blackbird spy plane. Still the fastest flying plane ever made. I think it's Mach 7, 4,200 miles an hour. Back in the day, if you knew it was coming, you fired your rocket, didn't matter. It just outrun your rocket and be gone. This is the second one ever built, the longest one still alive. And then underneath it here, that other black thing is not really part of it. It's a satellite and it would go on top of it. And they could drop it off and have it fly by itself, but I guess it was never really used. But it's a really big, really fast plane. I just want to admire it from a distance. Behind me is one of America's favorite planes, the A-10 Thunderbolt, also known as the Warthog. They used them in Desert Storm to great success. The plane has a huge payload and can weigh 50,000 pounds when it's loaded. Right, Dogmatics? Right. This is a B-36, the largest bomber America ever made. It's 240-foot wingspan, has 10 engines, 6 pushing props, and then 4 jets, 2 on either wing. This is the last one ever made. They have it. We're not gonna make any more of these. We've changed 2 iterations from now for our Peacemaker style defense bomber. So those are neat. This is neat, but I wanna get a quick look at the Guppy. So that's a Guppy. Planes like that got America on the moon in the 60s instead of the 70s, because it carried so many parts from California to Florida so they could build everything. We had to just do it with trains, boats, and trucks. We wouldn't have made it. Just too many things to move, too slow. This is the last propeller-driven Air Force One. It served Kennedy, it served Johnson. They had a chance to have a jet-powered one, but they just didn't get it. But right next to it is the jet-powered one. Now this one was gonna be an Air Force One, but it never received that designation. This is instead Freedom One. It's done some big trips, done some very historic things. There's so many planes here, such a vast area. You're just not gonna do it with respect for that a few days. Doug Max and I gotta get some water and some snacks, and we'll see you at the next place. Come on, buddy, let's go.